Hello, everyone, and welcome to the All Four Downs podcast. I'm your host, Obi-Wan, and I'm hopeful that I get a co-host tonight because Joe could not be here with me. I hope you feel better, my friend. I know that he has a lot going on, and when you're under the weather and you don't got a voice, you can't speak. Well, I mean, that'll be a problem for a podcast, right? But all well with you and everything else, and I hope that you recover soon and we'll get back on track for next week because I know you're taking notes on your final whistle. But speaking about whistle, let's go ahead and move on to first down. All right. Did you know that I have a fan here, a co-host for the NFL, who is a big Notre Dame fan? And yes, that's indeed Hector V. How you doing, my friend? Are you with me? Yeah, he's still getting his stuff set up, and that's all right. He'll join me momentarily. Well, that's okay. He's still doing his thing over there. See, he's looking lost. All right, trying to plug everything in, but we'll get him there real quick. But hey, there's a lot of football going on. I got a lot of gripes to talk about, so check it out. All right. So once I share my screen real quick, we'll get started. And Utah. The Utah Utes went down this weekend against Arizona State 27-19. But the biggest news there is that Cam Rising's leg injury is causing him to end the season, man. All right. And it is just bad luck for Cam Rising because every time we think he's coming back, he ends up back in the injured list. And look, man, it's called bad luck. But 7 years that you've been in college football, when is it time to move on? I just don't understand how this all, boils down to, okay? Because, dude, at that age, you should already be in the NFL. If not, I mean, that's why they got the combine. They got all this stuff for athletes to prove themselves that they are worthy to be NFL quarterbacks, right? And for Cam Rising, dude, he missed a few games because of a hand injury. He comes back, plays. Now he got a leg injury. Last year, he hardly even played. So it's like, yo, what's going on here? This guy's supposed to be the elite quarterback, but it just seems like, man, he's always putting himself on the shelf. And it's not cool, man. It's not cool at all. Welcome, Hector, to the show. Yeah, no audio, but we'll get you back, man. We'll get you back. But hey, more on that with Cam Rising later on. Other games that's happened, Mississippi State and Georgia. I got a concern there because the fact that Georgia plays Texas this week. Okay, this Saturday is the main event. Georgia going at Texas. The same atmosphere when Georgia went to Alabama. Okay, and you're playing kind of mediocre right now. 41-31 against Mississippi State, a team that has not have a win in the SEC. Other teams has manhandled Mississippi State. Georgia's supposed to be the best team in the SEC, and yet they're playing garbage, giving up 31 points. And what's mind-boggling is, yeah, they gave up 10, but 21 in the second half. That's not Georgia Bulldogs football. Georgia's a team that they test you out first and second quarter, and then the second half, they shut you down. They're not able to do anything. And it's crossover to South Carolina and Alabama game. The Crimson Tide's winning 27-25. Look, this just shows that this is not Nick Saban coaching anymore. Okay? This shows the true colors of their new head coach who came from Washington and is just coaching like he's still in the Pac-12. Okay? Come on, man. 27-25 to South Carolina. Don't get me wrong, right? South Carolina, they're improving, But you talk about Alabama, the number one draft, well, I won't say draft class, but the number one class in recruiting for the last couple of years. And this is what we're gonna get out of Alabama. This is the team, I guess. Georgia exploited them because Alabama lost to Vanderbilt, in which Nick Saban said that it's too easy to play against Vanderbilt, right? And now you got South Carolina. I mean, I even thought that South Carolina was going to pull it off. I really thought after taking the lead in the third quarter, I was like, oh, here we go. Here we go. Sound like Dak Prescott. Here we go. Nah, I'm sorry. SEC's looking garbage. Honestly, SEC's looking garbage. Illinois. Let's go on to the Big Ten, which I guess they probably are the best conference right now. Illinois going against Purdue. I mean, look, I'm loving the Illinois. They're after Lovie Smith was gone, they got a new head coach and everything. This college has bounced back to be one of the great teams in the Big Ten. But you cannot call yourself an elite team just yet when you're giving up 23 points in the fourth quarter. Are you serious right now? 50-49 was the final score, all because Purdue could not get the 2-point conversion. And if that would erase everything that Illinois was building. And then Oregon versus Ohio State. This is the heavyweight championship in the Big Ten. 32-31 is the final score, but that is concerning because you're talking about Ohio State. Every year is Ohio State. Every year. For the last 5 years, Ohio State's been ranked in the top 4. Right? Everything's Ohio State. The Ohio State. The what? Nah. I'm sorry. No way. Ohio State should have put Oregon away. In 3 quarters, it was a wrap. All they had to do was run the ball, time management, but nah, let's gun the ball. Let's do this. Let's do that. No. You allow Oregon to come back, and now everyone's talking about, oh, Dylan Gabriel, he did this, he did that. Look, Dylan Gabriel is just an average quarterback. He is another quarterback that's been in college football for many years who seemed not to have an appetite to chase his dream to the NFL. Or maybe he's not that good. There's a reason why these players stay forever. It's because you're aiming for a Heisman. If it was up to me, I would disqualify him to be a Heisman because he's been over 4 years in college football. And he's transferred 3 times. What are you doing? That's just my take. I have to let it out. I'm venting right now. Hector, are you with me? Still no audio. That's okay, Hector. Just shout out whenever you on, man. That way I'll stop. But we got to keep moving on. We're moving on because last one on first down is about redshirt. Now, in college football, a redshirt is a player who sits out of competition for a season to extend their period of eligibility. During the redshirt year, a player can practice with the team and attend games, but cannot participate officially, in the games beyond a certain limit. The benefit of redshirting is that it allows players to develop their skills, get stronger, and adjust to college level without using up one of their 4 years of playing eligibility. It's common for freshmen who might not be ready to contribute immediately or players who need time to recover from an injury. Under the current NCAA rules, a player can participate in up to 4 games during the season and still retain their redshirt status, which is often referred to as a 4-game red shirt. This rule provides flexibility, allowing teams to use a player for a few games without losing an entire year of eligibility. Now, with that said and done, Oklahoma's head coach Brent Venables confirmed Tuesday that he has discussed the possibility of redshirt with a sophomore quarterback, Jackson Arnold. But he said that the former 5-star prospect will continue to be an option for the Sooners under center over the second half of the regular season. Now, what does that tell me? A whole lot of garbage. You know why? Why would a player think about being a red shirt? I tell you why. It's because he's thinking about transferring. Michael Hawkins started for the Oklahoma Sooners, and he played against Texas against, well, let's say against a team that's expected to go to the college football playoffs. But for Oklahoma, it wasn't a game because they were missing almost five wide receivers. Their top wide receivers was not even playing. You're going against all these freshmen that are stepping up to the plate, doing their best. But Michael Hawkins actually lived up to the hype. No matter how bad, or we should say, what was the final score, the good thing is that Michael Hawkins has a future with the Sooners, and that threatens Jackson Arnold. He's threatened. And all of a sudden now he's thinking about, I think I'm going to go to redshirt. Yeah. And then what happens? Redshirt, he's going to scout the whole entire season. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm just going to hit the transfer portal. I'm done. That's it. That's exactly what's going to happen for Jackson Arnold. He's going to go, and then he's going to leave the SEC. He's going to go probably to the Midwest Conference or the Big Ten or wherever it is that he want to go, just to try to make a name for himself. That's what's going to happen. Maybe he'll transfer to Ohio State. I'm just saying, because Will Howard's in his last year of eligibility, then he's going to follow suit. It seems like that's the norm here in college football. All right, big update here with our military. You got Army 6-0, 5-0 in the American Conference. Navy is 5-0, 3-0 in the American Conference. Air Force versus Army, what happened on November 2nd, and Navy versus Army December 14th. And as of what happened earlier in this month, Navy did defeat Air Force 34-7. Now, I tell you, this is awesome news to have Army and Navy still undefeated going through week 8 of college football. And on top of that, Army new to the American Athletic Conference. It just gets even better. How you not vote these two teams in the top 25? I said it last week. I had them in my top 25. This week, we're going to talk about the current AP and coaches poll. But I tell you what, every time I put somebody in there, a week later, the AP poll wants to put it in there. I'm just saying, I'm watching this game full speed. I think the AP and the coaches poll are very, very behind. But then again, that's the reason why we have a college football committee, right? Second down, and we're talking about week 7. And I'm trying to ask Hector, see if his audio is right. Hector, you ready? Dad, I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry. We're jinxing you in college, and that's okay. I'll definitely see you and check you out in the NFL momentarily. Week 7, here we go. This is my top 25. I got the Texas A&M, Arizona State, Syracuse, Boise State, Illinois from 21 to 25. Arizona State, Syracuse, Boise State, Illinois are new to my how you get to my top 25, excuse me. But Syracuse, Boise State, and Illinois, they were there before. They were dropped down, and now they're back up again, fighting strong. Moving on, 16 through 20. Navy, Army, 16 and 17, respectively. SMU, Texas Tech, and Kansas State going to 18, 19, and 20. 11 to 15, Notre Dame, LSU, Tennessee, Indiana, Pittsburgh. Ranking 6 through 10, Clemson, Alabama, BYU, Ohio State, Miami. And from 1 through 5, I have Texas, Oregon, Penn State, Georgia, and Iowa State. Now, it's debatable to see whether or not Georgia's at number 4. Are they on top? Or is it Ohio State? That is the biggest question here, okay? Because if you look at the AP poll and a coaches poll, they have Ohio State at 4 or Georgia at 4. So which one is it? Is a flip-flop 4 or 5? There's a big difference when it comes to this. And respectively, I would put Georgia at number 4. Ohio State lost. Who is Ohio State playing? We're talking about the the strength of schedule, who they're playing against, Georgia's been playing on harder schedule than Ohio State. This is Ohio State's first game, top 25 against Oregon. Now, yeah, they could have beaten Oregon if they would manage the clock properly, but that didn't happen. But you got Georgia that played Alabama. Georgia played Clemson. Clemson's moving up in the rankings, but Georgia held them with 3 points. So how are you going to say that Georgia is lesser than Ohio State? Come on, AP poll. That's why you lost that credentials of managing a playoff game. Okay. Number one, where is the respect for Iowa State and the Big 12? Iowa State's winning big games. I don't understand why Iowa State is ranked number 9 in AP poll. I don't. They're playing solid and they're top of their conference. How are you disrespecting Iowa State? I don't understand. The coaches poll got them at 12. Or we're not showing any love to the Big 12? Here's my other question. How is LSU in the top 10 when they lost to USC? They barely won against South Carolina 36-33, and then they barely beat Ole Miss 29-26. How is that convincing you to put LSU in the top 10? It's mind-boggling right now. Number 3, Clemson deserves to be ranked higher. Yes. Only suffered a week 1 loss to Georgia, but since then, they'll be blowing out all their opponents. They're 5-1. Making a statement that you don't need to go to the transfer portal and try to boost up your roster, where Dabo Swinney kept saying, I just pick them and I just play them. That's it. There's no respect for BYU, 6-0, ranked 13 across the board. Why is BYU that low? Why can't they be in the top 10? And I already talked about Georgia Georgia and Ohio State, talking about rankings 4 and 5. I already talked about that. But man, it's just mind-boggling that you know that there are 12 teams going to the college football playoffs. The top 4 best conferences, the champions, will have a bye, and the 5th conference is taking the 5th seed. But yet the polls don't look that way. It is still heavy with the Big 10. It's still heavy with the SEC. Look, man, if you already got 2 losses, you need to be down in the bottom. 3 losses, count yourself out of the top 25. This is what's looking at right now. And Hector, if you're there with me, I'm just tuning in to a possibility of what the college football playoffs may look like right now. And here's my prediction. Imagine that this was the games right here. BYU versus Alabama. That'll be interesting because the winner will have to take on Texas. Notre Dame versus Army. What? Did you see Army? Have you ever seen Army's football team right now? I can hear you, Hector.
Oh, you can?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'm having technical difficulties like the top 25 is. They don't know where to put nobody nowadays. I'm like hearing everything you're saying. It makes sense. It's like, you know what? I mean, this whole top 25 thing, you know, I've had a problem with it before. And now it's getting even worse. You know, when does the madness stop? When we're gonna stop? When we put all top 25 in the playoffs? This is ridiculous.
Nah, I mean, we got the committee that's going to happen in a couple of weeks, so it's interesting to see how they see it, right? But imagine the playoffs right now with Notre Dame versus Army. Army playing a different type of football.
Yeah, it is. You know, that kind of conflicts for me right there. I love my Notre Dame, but I don't know. They kind of suspect, man. That one loss to Northern Illinois earlier this year was kind of suspect. So,
but definitely it's not going to be a suspect because I will go for Army in this game. They're just at another level. Penn State versus Miami. I mean, I will pick Penn State. Just watching them play this weekend against USC. Miami does not stand a chance against the Big Ten teams. Well, I don't see it.
Well, Miami should have lost that game to Virginia Tech earlier this year.
Oh, yes, sir.
I watched
Yes.
that game, and after replay, I was like,
Oh,
no, you should have lost that game.
yeah, but they want Cam Ward to
Right.
get that recognition, so they want him up there, right?
Of
And then
course.
Ohio State and Georgia. Imagine them playing, which is the rematch of not last year, but the year before of the semifinals. I mean, Georgia squeaked away, defeating Ohio State, and then moving on to beat TCU. But man, that'd be one hell of a first round games right there, and then crossing over. So I love it.
Mhm.
We're moving on to third down. And listen, I'm interested to see how well will the Yukon Huskies play this weekend. Okay. Yukon has 2 losses, has come outside well, technically they don't belong, I say, to any conference. They're independent. Okay. But it'd be pretty interesting to see how well Yukon will play against Wake Forest. Now, the spread is in favor of Yukon. Can you believe that? They're favorite by 1 point. Now, of course, that's a pick'em game, but they've lost to Maryland 50-7. They lost to Duke 26-21. So Duke being an ACC, Wake Forest is in the ACC. I just don't see how, and I'm going for my Yukon Huskies. That's my home state. I just don't see how they could beat Wake Forest.
Anything is possible nowadays. I mean, it looks like this program is coming up from just being a basketball program. So I think this is going to be an interesting game, and I think this would be a sound victory for UConn if they can get this victory over them. I don't see how it being impossible to do. Your record says who you are, so Wake Forest, they're not playing well right now. I mean, okay, they
No, they're
won.
not. They got blown out by Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
They did beat North Carolina State 34 to
Right.
30, but losing to oh my God, who
Well,
is it?
Ole Miss blew the brakes off of them, didn't they?
Oh yeah, Ole Miss beat them
Yeah.
40-6. Virginia beat them
By
31 to 30. That was a
right,
close. That was the first game.
right.
But oh man, I even forgot the name of this team. Oh
Which
God, I'm
one?
staring it right there in my face. Oh, Louisiana.
Oh, the Raging
Uh,
Cajuns?
yeah, the
Is it?
Raging Cajuns, 41
Yeah.
to 38. I mean, they scoring, but then it's like, I don't know. Like, I'm gonna root for UConn, but I will not be surprised if Wake Forest win this game, especially with UConn having difficulties playing against ACC opponents. So I got the check mark there. I'm a fan, but stay away from this game. I'm just saying
Mm-hmm.
anything's possible. There's a reason why they're favored by 1 point here in East Hartford,
It
Connecticut.
could be an offensive shootout.
Yeah. Notre Dame versus Georgia Tech. This is a trap game. Georgia Tech is one good team. However, in history, Notre Dame has got their number. I'm taking Notre Dame to win.
Yeah, I'm taking my team also to win this game. But you're right. I mean, after losing to Northern Illinois and playing close games, uh, to me again, they don't deserve to be where they're at right now. I mean, you keep edging them in there. I just don't feel like they deserve it. I'm sorry. I know that's my team and all, but look,
Mhm.
I'm gonna call it right down. It is a spade is a spade. You don't deserve it because they get into that playoff, they're gonna be the first one eliminated. I'm
And,
sorry.
yeah. I mean, don't they do that every time they make the
Every time,
playoffs? Yeah.
every time.
Virginia versus Clemson. I'm predicting Clemson should blow out Virginia. A lot of people call me crazy, but Clemson's on fire, man. They after suffering that loss against Georgia, they won 5 straight, make it 6 in a row. Convincingly, Clemson, they're gonna give you a reason why they're in the top 10.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Michigan versus Illinois. Ah, man, it was this hard pick. It was a hard choice. Both these teams, inching, clinching, but I got to go for Michigan. I'm going for the better defense. Illinois can pull up an upset, but I'm going for the best defense in this game. I'm taking Michigan over Illinois.
Yeah, I got you. I'm with you right there. Michigan is going to win this game.
LSU goes on the road against Arkansas. I am picking a upset. I'm picking an upset. Arkansas defeats LSU. Not only suffering them for a second. Look, I'm not agreeing that they're in the top 10. I don't understand. I voiced my opinion already in second down. LSU does not deserve yet to be in the top 10 because they haven't proven me they're top 10. Okay. Arkansas's running game is going to dictate this game and it's going to push hard and hard and hard. Low score game. Arkansas pulls it off. A field goal win. Bye-bye LSU.
I can see that upset. I mean, didn't they beat Tennessee?
Yes.
So
Yes, they did.
I mean, I know they lost to Missouri earlier on this year, but beating Tennessee and keeping it close against A&M, I believe they kept the game pretty close. I could see how this Razorback team could upset the Tigers. I agree with you.
Nebraska and Indiana. Oh, man. Me and Joe talked about this last week and the week before. There's just something about Indiana that, yes, they're 6-0, right? And they managed to look good. But this is the point. When you're writing an essay, you got to look at that climax to bring it back down again. This is the point right here, ladies and gentlemen. Nebraska goes on the road to Indiana, and they will upset Indiana Hoosiers. Yes, take them out.
You know, I think this might be another mirror image of when they play Illinois earlier this year. And I think I've texted you, who you got in that matchup. Nebraska, I think, could have won that game, but I think they'll bounce back and take down Indiana. Indiana, yeah, I think that they started off strong, but let's see how they finish going down the stretch here.
Yeah, look, man, Nebraska's on a 2-game win streak to beat Purdue and Rutgers. Mm-hmm. They did lose to Illinois by in overtime.
Yes, that was
great
awesome
game. Mm-hmm. But you look at Indiana, you played Northwestern, Maryland, Charlotte. UCLA does not have that much talent. So Indiana's beating teams that they need to beat. But now they're facing Nebraska. This is a good test for Indiana. Prove me wrong. I don't feel it yet. Okay. I don't feel it yet. I know they got Rourke as their quarterback, but he's not a risk taker like Raiola is in Nebraska, and that's why he's thrown more interceptions. But I'm liking the run game for Nebraska. If they could do that, I'm loving it. I'm telling you, I'm loving it.
They're lucky they already got their 6 wins to be bowl eligible because the rest of their schedule is going to look pretty darn tough.
We're talking about tough. I'm glad that you mentioned that because Alabama goes on the road against Tennessee. And with Tennessee suffering that one loss that we talked about against Arkansas.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you, there's just something off with Alabama. This is not Alabama. This is not Nick Saban's team anymore. But you got Tennessee. I'm picking Tennessee for I don't think I need to call it an upset. I know in the rankings they're going to call it an upset, but I think Alabama's going to fall down.
Yeah, you're right. They're not the same team as they are anymore. When you don't have that leadership that you're used to having all the time, and you have to get used to someone else's play calling, you're just not going to be the same anymore. And they got to get right here with Tennessee. I'm going to go with Alabama. I think this is a get-right game for them because if not, it could be a tough stretch with Missouri and LSU coming up after that for them. They did play close games lately against, South Carolina, losing to Vanderbilt, barely beating Georgia. So, yeah, we're starting to see the vulnerability in Alabama. They're not a threat like they used to be anymore.
And the thing is that both Alabama and Tennessee have something in common. They're not playing great football. Right. Okay. Alabama losing to Vanderbilt, then they barely beat South Carolina. Tennessee lost to Arkansas 19-14. Then they went ahead and blew the game. Like they could have won this game in regular time, but they had to go to OT and win. Okay. So it's a flip a coin. It's a pick 'em. That's what I'm gonna call it. It's a pick 'em. And yet Alabama's favored by 3 points. you would think it would be bigger, but it's
Yeah.
not.
No.
So you got Alabama, I got Tennessee. I'm just hopeful that maybe something good might happen out of this one. Who's gonna be right? And lastly, the main event: Georgia versus Texas. I voiced myself already on First Down about the way Georgia's playing. They're playing straight up garbage. You're playing against a team right now that Texas first year in the SEC, and that a lot of people are crowning Texas to go all the way and win it. I'm gonna tell you right now, relax. I'm Aaron Rodgers from a few years ago. RELAX. Chill. Relax. It's not gonna happen. Georgia's learned their lesson. I think they're gonna they had an embarrassing moment last week. Kirby Smart has to bring this A game. And of course, the big news about Kirby Smart pushing that quarterback. That was on the news, but it was unintentional, supposedly. Listen, regardless of the situation, this is Georgia's game. This is Georgia's game. They lose, they're out. They're not even going to make it to the playoffs. It's a wrap. They're going to drop straight down. I'm telling you, it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And for Texas, this is going to scoot on by, but there's always a game that Texas messes up, especially being in Texas. That's why I'm taking Georgia. And I'm not going to say it's a field goal. Georgia needs to win convincingly. Shut them down. Just shut them down and get back to number one spot.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't know how they rearranged the SEC since now that the Longhorns and the Sooners have came into the conference. But
no divisions. There's no divisions.
So straight up, then that means A&M. So A&M is in first place right now because of conference wins. They're 3-0. You know, Texas, to me, they're trying to be the new kid on the block and trying to punch people in the mouth right away. And I think this is where the game is going to bite them in the butt. Okay, you beat a Michigan. It wasn't a conference game, and you beat Oklahoma, which that was a rivalry game. We already know that.
That's still like a Big 12 game to me, right?
Exactly. So to me, this is going to be your first true test in the SEC. And
well, I mean, they beat Mississippi State 35-13. Okay, so like this is their
Ole Miss
official third game in the SEC, right?
But their first true test, I would believe, in my opinion, because I mean they still got, I don't know, Florida, Arkansas, that might be mid-level for them later on down the line, but this right here is going to prove can Texas take over the SEC?
It's a line. Look, Georgia, Vanderbilt that pulled an upset against Alabama. They're fighters. Florida, they look like they always play with their backs on the ground. Arkansas, run game. Kentucky, defense. Then you end the season with Texas A&M,
right?
Which is a rivalry. This is a rivalry that, man, I remember when I was in the Army, that's all they bragged about in Texas was games like this, But I think I'm going to change the script and be like, hey, Georgia, you undisciplined team, when are you going to grow up? Right. Or are they overrated? We're going to find out this Saturday. Is Carson Beck really a good quarterback? Is he supposed to be a top quarterback for the NFL draft?
Right.
Or is it Ewers? He's back, but his game was a little off. But hey, man, it seemed like he was better than him anyway. So we'll see what happens this week.
It kind of reminds me a little bit when A&M joined the SEC. They try to come in there trying to push their weight around, and they got punched in the mouth really quick. So I think that's what Texas is trying to do. And I think this is going to be a wake-up call. If Georgia punches them in the mouth quick, they're going to get humbled real quick and say they're going to officially be welcomed to the SEC.
All right, it's fourth down. And listen, Joe would have been with me. He would have. And I'm sure he probably have a lot of things to say about Texas, right? or maybe he's with Texas finally. I don't know. You never know what you get out of Joe. However, I hope he's okay. Under the weather with no voice, bad look for the podcast, right? But anyways, listen, you never know what you're going to get. And this is my final whistle real quick. So here we go. You never know what you're going to get. If you paid attention to the games and everything else, you'll know that if you're betting, it's kind of hard now, right? The spreads are crazy. Just when you think that team is going to win, it's a loss. Or it's supposed to be a blowout, it's a close game. What does that all mean? I'll tell you. The talent has been spread all over college football with the NIL and with the popularity of the transfer portal. People could go anywhere to make a name for themselves. And that's what they're doing. They're playing their own game. It's not so much about the football game itself. It's about what can I do? Let me show you what I can do. There's a lot of eyes in there. But in reality, is there such thing as I in the word team? No, not if you're sarcastic and say ME. It has two letters in there. Never said what the order is. But the bottom line is that if you're a gambler, gamble safe. Be careful. Because you might be broke this weekend. I'm to tell you, there's a lot of good games. Maybe you want to invest in over-unders or straight up. But I know bigger money, the bigger pot. I got you. I'm just saying, a lot of games, a lot of upsets, and even the games that's supposed to be blowouts, they're not blowouts. And the teams that in history, I mean, look at Vanderbilt and Alabama. Oh, they'll beat them. Better be careful because it might not turn out the way you think it is. It's going to be interesting to see what happens this weekend on the main event between Georgia and Texas and all the other games. Thank you for watching All Four Downs. I'll be back next week hopefully with Joe and everyone else that want to join me. You're all welcome to All Four Downs.